same German proverb says that friendship is a plant that we need to water. This I agree with to a great degree. It illustrates the variance in the kind of friends you can keep. You know, like a plant, plants can be poisonous, plants can be nice. Some plants can be weeds that you need to pluck, which has definitely been the case for me with some friends. And also, ultimately, plants, you know, flowers look nice, don't they? You know. So, you know, friends are much like that. You know, you can enjoy their company, you can enjoy what they're like, but you can also resent them or want to just pluck them away. An instance of this is a while back made a friend. You know, he was kind of a friend of a friend. He kind of sort of joined in our group, and this friend turned out to be more like a weed than a plant. You know, at first, you know, he seemed kind of cool, seemed, you know, good to hang out with, and then later on we kind of find out he had psychopathic tendencies. He liked to write on things. You know, he used to write on walls and write messages, and it was really kind of freaky because it reminded me of that movie where the guy wrote on the walls with blood. And he was crazy. He'd steal from us, and then he used to carry knives around, and we had to abruptly just pluck this guy as quick as we could. And needless to say, this weed did go down with a fight. He kept coming back up and coming in and what have you. Eventually we were able to get rid of this guy and just sort of essentially pluck him from our flower bed of friends. But, you know, like I said, that's an example of someone like a friend who is a weed. So you need to be aware of who your friends are, I think, is also another way of interpreting that particular quote. You need to be aware of, like plants, each different kind of plant requires a different kind of care. You know, certain friends, for example, I have a friend who I'm still friends with. I've been friends with him ever since I was a kid. He lives across the Atlantic Ocean in Scotland. This guy, low maintenance plant. I can not email this guy for 6 months, and I can email him again and say, what's up, how's it going? He won't hold any bitterness for the fact that I haven't spoken to this guy in ages. You know, so again, that's sort of one sort of color in the spectrum of the friends as plants. So you're following my analogy. I think I may have overcomplicated it a little bit, but ultimately another reason why maintaining your friends is important is because ultimately your friends have your back. You know, there are many things crop up in life. You can get in a relationship. Your focus can sort of shift over to like sort of maybe your relationship, and you forget about your friends. And like plants, your friends can die out. They can abandon you, they can leave you, they can get a little bit annoyed with the fact that you're just constantly hanging out with one person or you're sort of neglecting them. And, you know, they can die out. So ultimately, you know, it's in one's best interest to maintain sort of your garden that is your friends. You know, constantly water it, constantly take care of it, nurture it, because your friends do have your back. And ultimately, I feel the German Proverbs analogy is a pretty good one, because the manner to which friends come and go, the manner to which your friends become your friends, and the manner to which weeds manifest is very similar in the way you make friends and how you lose friends and get rid of friends. Thank you.
Right, when you look back at the video, you're going to say, "A man named German proverb." Did I really say that? Because it's gonna sound a little funny. But it's clear that you had a thesis, and it sounds like. But it sounds, especially at the beginning of the speech, like you're rushing through things. You're rushing to get to the point. You're rushing to get to your ideas, and you're not giving us a chance to figure out ultimately what you're saying. Once you get to the individual points, I think you do a better job on that. There is actually a bit of a preview in the speech. And then you've got a couple of good examples. You've got the first one about the guy that you need to pluck like a weed, and you give us a little bit of detail on that, and that makes it interesting. I'm still not sure on your last point how plants get up and leave us, because that's the weirdest plant I ever met. But the idea that the idea that they die, I think that kind of makes sense, and I think you could have a better example on that. On delivery things, you know, you have a tendency to look down whenever you're uncertain about things or when you're making transitions between the ideas, and it really seems like you're doing that a lot instead of looking at the audience. Your pacing, like I said, it seems a little bit fast, like you're rushing through, and that's especially true at the end of the speech, where I think you've got a pretty effective exit and conclusion section, but it's undermined by the way you rush through it, and it just seems like you're anxious to be done in the presentation. Your gestures, they seem very repetitive. I think that's part of where your anxiety is coming out. You do have some good indicators, but it seems like you have the same one over and over and over again. Facial expressions could be a little bit more animated. It's really your hands and your eyes where your anxiety is coming out. All right, thank you.